Today we're heading into the house and we are doing something that we do every single year. It's been a tradition since I've been a kid. It's making applesauce. But I don't core my apples, I don't skin my apples, I don't seed my apples. Let me show you why. This is my secret weapon. Let me show you how and why I use a Vitamixer in making applesauce. First step to success is always making sure you have clean and hot jars. Okay, that's all I can stick in my thing right now. So my mom grew up older Amish, and canning is a really big part of the Amish community, and it's something that my mom continued even after she left. And I'm so glad that she did, because I grew up watching my mom can. My grandma, we would often go over there and they'd be canning big batches of things, and my aunt. So naturally, it's just what I continue to do. And there are a few things that are like staples in my childhood, like things that I always look forward to my mom canning. And one of them was applesauce. Like, I was basically the taste tester, as my kids are too. But it like brings back such fond memories when every year I make applesauce. I think of making applesauce with my mom and my grandma. And it's just a fun tradition to do. Now, my own kids look forward to canning applesauce, and they eat applesauce all year long. Because it helps me to see people's like process of how they do things, I'm gonna show you how I have my station set up before we get started. Apples will go in the sink. I use this veggie wash from Trader Joe's, super simple. They'll get washed here. Any blemishes will get cut out. They'll get thrown into that bowl. They'll get cut in half, and half again if they're super big, thrown in here. Then they'll be brought over here to the pots. There is a little bit of water on the bottom just so they don't burn and they steam. And then they'll get ladled into the Vitamixer here with a little bit of sugar just to keep from browning. They'll get blended, and the applesauce that's blended will get thrown into here. And then we'll move over and put lids on, rings. They'll get put in here, taken out to the canner. First thing I'm doing is I just check for any kind of blemishes that may look a little funky. If they're fine, then I cut them in half. Cut them in half again. The only thing that I don't put in is a stem. That gets tossed, and then these are just gonna get cut into kind of like chunks. Kind of think about kind of how you would do like mashed potatoes maybe, depending on the size of the apple, and that gets thrown in the container. I'm not skinning them, I'm not seeding them, I'm not coring them. Actually, all of your nutrients are in your skin and seeds. So this is a very nutritious way to do applesauce. No, it's not. I got my water in here simmering, and we have our first little batch here, so I'm gonna, I don't think I can do that one-handed. Put the camera down. These are just, gonna get thrown into the pot here.
Mom, how do you cut this again?
Hold on one minute. Now I'll keep adding apples to this pot, but I just want it to simmer. I don't want it to like boil real hard because the bottom will burn. So this one I'm just gonna turn down until I'm ready to put apples in that one. This one I'll keep filling up, and then we're just gonna simmer them until they get soft. Like, I still want them like tender because I don't want all like juice. I want to get like a thick applesauce. So just until they're soft. We are getting close. So every once in a while I just take a spoon and I kind of pull up from the bottom just to make sure nothing's burning on the bottom. You can see the ones I'm pulling up are a little more brown and soft. And then I'll just continue to keep my lid on there until they're just tender, all tender. Like there's some really hard pieces, like that one obviously, but that was one I just pulled up from the bottom. So just stir it every once in a while. And this little pot here was the first one to get done. So you can see they're nice and like kind of golden brown. And there's some mushy parts in there. We don't want it all mush because we want a nice like thick applesauce. So let me set you all up and I'm gonna blend this up. I do blend it for a while just to make sure that it's nice and smooth. There's no seeds or anything in there that are still chunky. And I pour it into my big container here. And I just sprinkle a little bit of sugar. These apples are pretty sweet, so I don't want to add a lot of sugar, but I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit in so that way it doesn't go super brown until I'm ready to can it. And we're just going to repeat this process. We have our first batch done here. Carson's stirring it. Our second batch is going. So now I am going to head outside and I'm going to light the propane tank because I do all of my canning, like big batch canning, outside. Let me show you my setup here. So this is just a propane burner with a propane tank, and then I have my canner here. I filled it with water from the hose, so we're gonna get this started. Whoa. All right, Carson, you wanna try some?
Yeah!
You gotta get back a little bit.
You taste some too.
Can I taste some too?
Yeah.
All right.
I already tasted it. It's hot.
It's gonna be hot. You gotta blow it a little bit. Mmm. Oh, it's like perfectly sweet and perfectly tart.
Mm-hmm.
Mmm. And of course, with any canning, you want to make sure that the rims are very clean, especially with something like applesauce that has sugar in it, because that sugar crystallizes on the rim and then you don't get a good seal. So a lot of times a seal comes from the rim not being clean. We're gonna stick on our lids. I need to take some of that water out. That hasn't come to a boil just yet, so I will wait to start my timer until that is boiling, and then we'll start the timer for 20 minutes for quarts. So I'll check on that periodically and keep going inside the house. Yes, my timer sings. So that's what that is. So we're taking these out of the canner, and then I have my next batch ready to go to stick in here, and this will go back outside. That was my last batch. I ended up with a little more than I thought I would, so I got 25 quarts. I think there's 8 pints in there. So 2 bushels did all of that, and I barely had anything that I need to throw out. So a little bowl of scraps. So these apples were great apples, And because I use my Vitamixer, I can blend everything together, get all the nutrition out of the apples we possibly can, and we will eat that all year long. Thanks for joining me for canning applesauce this year. We'll see you on the next one.